we're going to get out some books. Here we go. Are you excited? Look at my dog. I don't know what she's doing.
I am going to be doing a July wrap-up, and then I'm also going to be doing a August TBR. So these are actually some of the books that I read in the month of July. My brother is borrowing 3 of my comics that I read, and then one of my other books that I read was on my iPad. So I'm going to be kind of like running through all of those, and as all of you know that watch my videos, I kind of ramble a little bit, so hopefully it won't be like over the top long, and hopefully my dog doesn't distract you too much, but she's just trying to get on my bed, I think. So without further ado, here we go. So it's For Pete's Sake, written by Jerry Buckley. And I gave this one a 3 out of 5 on Goodreads, and it follows a woman named Pete, and she just came back home because her sister is missing, her twin sister, and she has been living in, I believe it was Australia, and to like kind of get away from her family because her family in her mind is a little cuckoo. They dress up as the Addams Family and they do this whole production, but they're also con artists, and she wanted to get away from that. So now she is a professor in Australia, and she flew back. So now she needs to figure out what happened to her twin sister and why she disappeared. And along the way, she meets a man named Dan. She meets him at the casino where her sister was supposedly working, and she has gone missing from it, and Pete starts putting all of these things together, and eventually she finds some secrets out about her sister, and then she gets involved in ways that she didn't anticipate, and then she also starts falling in love, which kind of throws her for a loop because she wasn't anticipating on staying if her sister was found. Like a decent read, but if I were to find this on the bookshelf now, I probably wouldn't buy it. But it was for like what it was decent. It was a quick read, and it was a book
So I could get off of my bookcase and make more room for other books, but okay, whatever. Alright.
So the next one is In a Dark, Dark Wood. I did a review, and this was by Ruth Ware, sorry. I already did a review on this one, and if you watched that one, you could probably tell that I absolutely loved it. This book was amazing. I read it while I was away on vacation, and I finished it, and I was just like, oh
my god, that was so good.
And then, of course, I didn't have anybody to talk to about it because my mom didn't read it, but she was listening all about it, and then she started, like, kind of dazing off, and that's usually how it happens when you're talking to people that don't read about books, and you're just like,
Oh, I loved it. And they're like, okay, good for you. Nobody cares. And you're just like, well, I care.
But it, I'm like getting lost in my thoughts. So this one actually follows a woman named Nora, and she gets invited to a hen party, which for others it's like a bachelorette party, and it's for somebody that she graduated high school with and hasn't spoken to in about 10 years. But then she sees that another one of her friends is going, so they decide together that they'll go. And then strange things start happening, and then somebody gets shot, and you have to figure out like who did it or what really happened because Nora's not really remembering a lot of it. And I guess that's like probably the only flaw with it, is that you're relying so much on her not remembering it, and that's the only reason that there's a mystery. But I mean, at the same time, it was definitely a good one. I kind of called it from the start, but then like towards the middle I was just like, I don't know now, but it was definitely a good one. And if you like a mystery and you like that suspense and like trying to figure it out, then this is definitely a good one for you. I love her style of writing too, by the way. This was actually her debut novel, so pretty excited for all of her other stuff. But yes, this one I gave a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, and I don't really give 5s a lot of the time, especially for mysteries, because I feel like the mysteries are like just so predictable. I mean, this one, because I think I've read so many now, I think I saw it right away because of that. But a lot of the clues weren't like cut and dry, where it was just like it was this person. So if you like those kind of novels, definitely check this one out. One of the ones that I actually read the beginning of July was Gone Girl, and I had been reading Gone Girl for a while, and then I put it aside because it was on my iPad. And for me, reading on my iPad is just so hard. I don't know why. I just actually like holding a book in my hands and like just kind of like taking my finger and like dragging it on the iPad to read. Doesn't really suit me very well. But Gone Girl wasn't bad. I gave it a 3 out of 5 only because I just felt like the characters were very obnoxious. Like, I didn't even really like Nick. I didn't like Amy, and I didn't even really like Amy's parents. Like, I didn't feel any sympathy for any of these characters. And by the end of it, I was almost like pleased with what happened to all of the characters because it was like suits them right in a way. Gone Girl follows a man named Nick Dunn and Amy Dunn, and Amy Dunn goes missing one day, and all fingers point to Nick eventually. And it bounces between Nick's point of view and then Amy's diary's point of view as like throughout the years of their relationship or whatever. So it definitely had a lot of potential, but I kind of just got bored with it. And I don't necessarily know if it's because I watched the movie first and then read it. Like, I feel like almost if I had read the book first, I probably would have zoomed through it, and I probably would have been like completely taken by surprise with the big twist like I was in the movie. But I did give it a 3 out of 5. It was still a decent read. Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I started piecing everything together like closer to the end, so it was definitely one of those mysteries where you have to pay attention to every little detail. Like, I might eventually, like probably not anytime soon, but I might eventually go back and reread it to see if there were clues that pointed to the person or whatever. But before I like get into all that, it follows a woman, and she kind of fantasizes about this couple that's always on this balcony. Like, she rides the train into London every day, and she tells her flatmate that she's going into work. However, she's already lost her job because she's an alcoholic, and she became unreliable at her job, so they ended up letting her go, and now she has to pretend that she still is going to work so that her flatmate doesn't kick her out. So every day she goes on this train, and then they stop right in front of these houses, and oddly enough, the houses are also by her ex-husband's house. Well, it's also her old house too. But on the balcony, she fantasizes about this couple, and she pretends that she knows them. She makes up names for them. And then one day she's on the train and she's going by, and she sees the woman on the balcony kissing a man that's not her husband. So she gets a little raging and everything, and it has to do with her failed marriage, and she is wondering why this woman would go and cheat on her husband who loves her so dearly. And because in the book you find out that she was also cheated on, and I'm like drawing a blank on her name. Rachel was cheated on. So she makes this big plan that she's going to go talk to this woman, and the woman actually lives right down the street from her husband, who has already told her to kind of stay away, that his new wife is anxious and doesn't really want her around. So the next moment that she remembers, she wakes up, she's bruised, and she has thrown up on the floor at her flatmate, and now all of a sudden the woman that's from the balcony has gone missing. So then she has to try to piece together the events of the night that she went there, and then she starts pretend like, I guess she thinks that she's like this investigator, and she starts trying to solve the crime, and then she doesn't realize that she's a suspect now, and it was just a really good one. It is coming out in a movie. I believe it's Emily Blunt and Haley Bennett and a few other actors that are in it, and I'm pretty excited to see their take on it. This one was a 3 out of 5 on Goodreads. One that I read was Outkast Volume 1, Darkness Surrounds Him by Robert Kirkman, which is a graphic novel, and I gave that one a 4 out of 5. It was the first one of the series, and it definitely made me want to read more, but it's about a man who is known as an outcast to people that are possessed by demons, and he's trying to figure out why he's known as an outcast and why he can hurt people that have demons in them. So there was that one, and then I'll just run through the ones that I read as well by him, which was volumes 2 and 3. 2 I gave a 4, and 3 I gave a 4. Those 3 volumes were actually really decent, and it's a TV show, so if you haven't read it, or if you haven't watched it, maybe check it out. And was The Last Song by Nicholas Sparks, and I don't typically give below 2 stars on Goodreads, but this one earned a 1 star by me, and I don't know why, and maybe it's because I watched the movie and all I could picture was Miley Cyrus, and I just don't really like her. But it follows a girl named Ronnie, who is an extreme brat, by the way, and she goes to visit her dad. Well, she doesn't willingly go. Her dad asked her mom if they could go, and she's 17, and then her brother goes with them, and she refuses to spend time with her dad, and her dad does everything he can for her, and she just refuses and refuses, and like everything he does, it's not good enough. And then she meets this group of friends who are not good news, like they're not good news, and she just starts hanging out with them, and then she meets a rich boy there, but she doesn't know he's rich, and then like she falls in love with him, and it's just, it was blah. Like I literally sat through it, and I'm just like, I don't know if I can read this, but I've had this in my bookcase for so long that I just wanted to get it off, and I'm not one of those people who like not finishing a book and then just getting rid of it or whatever. So it wasn't for me. If you like Nicholas Sparks, this was my first Nicholas Sparks book too, so I don't know if this is his style of writing, and if this is like how all of his books are, and if that's the case, I'm probably not going to be a big Nicholas Sparks fan. I like love stories, but this was just, it felt very forced, and I'm sorry if you liked it, and you can tell me if you liked it, and you're like, what are you thinking? It was great, and if you thought it was great, awesome, but just wasn't for me. The Night Alive by Heather Graham, I gave this a 4 out of 5. It follows a woman who her granddad owns a pirates restaurant in Savannah, I believe, and he ends up being murdered, or in her mind he's murdered, but he was like 90 something and people think he just had a heart attack, but there were other murders going on, so she starts connecting the dots, and there's ghosts and romance, and yes. Okay, next one was Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I gave this one a 5 out of 5. This one was so beautifully written, and the story was just amazingly heartfelt, and I mean, for how short it is, and for it kind of being geared for children, I think it's geared for like middle grade. It was so amazing. Like I stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning and I sobbed. It was amazing. If you have not read this one, definitely read it. It follows a boy named Connor whose mom is going through cancer treatments, and he starts realizing that a lot of people are lying to him about the treatments working, because they're definitely not working, and it just follows his, I believe, his like inner destruction of the whole thing and his emotions coming out, and I think the monster has to do with his anger about it. The next one I read was, or the last one I read in July, was The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. I think I'm saying that right, but this follows, actually, it kind of follows Death's point of view, and he follows along a girl named Liesel. This one a 4 out of 5. The first one is Under the Harrow by Flynn Berry, and I actually already read this one. But one is The Woman in Cabin 10, geez Louise, by Ruth Ware.
And that's my other dog, if you don't know it. So it's Macy, the white one, and then Minnie is the one that just is all over the place.
Is Parasite by Amira Grant. Eden by Candace Fox, with Red Hands by Stephen Woodward. This one has been on my bookcase for so long. The Killing Dance by Laurel K. Hamilton. So hopefully everybody's having a great summer, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, and comment below if you have read any of these books and if you want to talk about any of them.